Good morning, church family. Pastor Dan here, and to visitors, welcome to our devotional channel here at Rockhampton Baptist. Have you ever bought something that's meaningless or really has no essential purpose in your life? Or maybe you've received something that you've cheerfully received and then just not used it, whether it's been at the back of your cupboard or whether it's something that you wanted to use for a purpose and it just hasn't fulfilled that specific purpose. I've got a few of those things at home and even on my desk. These are one of the things I have on my desk, this little basketball hoop that my wife bought me years ago as I started pastoral ministry. And essentially it's just a simple game where you flick the basketball up onto the hoop. However, it didn't do this initially, but as you leave it for a while and you go to shoot the basketball hoop, the hoop falls down and it really doesn't fulfill the whole purpose. You physically have to hold it there in order to keep it, and even if it does stand, when you shoot it, it falls down and it really doesn't fulfill its purpose and therefore is meaningless. Maybe you've had these journeys in life where you've gone through something and you go, why did I go through that? That seemed meaningless. That didn't have any purpose, journey or experience. And you're starting to ask God, why did you take me through that? Why did I go through that? That seemed to have no real meaning or bearing upon my life. Before I came to Rocky Baptist, it was about 2 years there where I didn't have a pastoral position. Almost 2 years. In 2015, I started my first pastoral position, serving God in my local church, and just felt a sense from God to finish up and move on and take that next position. We didn't know what it was going to be, but we were trusting that God had something for us. I expected it to be in a short amount of time, but in fact it was almost 2 years. And I kept thinking to myself, why did I go through that? Was that essentially meaningless? When I talk about things that are meaningless or without purpose, I'm always drawn to the book of Ecclesiastes. So let me read some of King Solomon's words. These are the words of the teacher, King David's son, who ruled in Jerusalem. Everything is meaningless, says the teacher, completely meaningless. What do people get about all their hard work under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth never changes. The sun rises and the sun sets, then hurries around to rise again. The wind blows south and then it turns north. Around and around it goes, blowing in circles. Rivers run to the sea and the sea is never full. Then waters return again to the rivers and flows out to the sea again. Everything is wearisome beyond description. No matter how much we see, we are never satisfied. No matter how much we hear, we are never content. History merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. Sometimes people say, here is something new, but it is actually old. Nothing is ever truly new. We don't remember what happened in the past and in future generations. No one will remember what we are doing now. Isn't that an encouraging passage? Everything is meaningless. What you do has no worth or meaning on earth. And we think about some of those things, or some of the things we have, and we go, it doesn't really have a meaning. Obviously, King Solomon is putting this in perspective. He's talking about without the right perspective and without the right focus, things on earth do not have meaning. When we go to the end of Ecclesiastes, he sums up. He said, that's the whole story. Here now is my final conclusion. Fear God, obey his commands, for this is everyone's duty. God will judge us for everything we do, including every secret thing whether good or bad. Now, the purpose for writing this book is King Solomon has gone through various experiences in life. He's essentially tried everything, and that's what the book goes through. And he comes to the conclusion that we are to fear God and obey his commands. That's everybody's duty. Fear God and obey his commands. There are certain things that we have or experiences that we go through that we may find meaningless or worthless or without purpose. And they are unless we fear God and obey his commands. They seem worthless and meaningless without God. And that's the perspective we should continue to have as believers in God. That we are to fear God, obey his commands in everything we do. I use this basketball hoop often as I sit it on my desk just to keep my mind off things, or if I'm starting to think about something that I didn't want to, I use it to distract myself. The 2 years that I went without a pastoral position before this one really grew and gave me the experience I needed to take this position. I could have wasted those 2 years and they would have been absolutely meaningless. But because I feared God, I obeyed his commands, I stepped out in faith, I used those 2 years to serve him and to gain experience for that. What you're doing may seem meaningless, may seem without purpose, but if you are doing it and fearing God at the same time, if you are doing it and obeying God's commands, and you're where God has you, it is not meaningless, because God has something in store for you. Let me pray. Dear God, we thank you for today. Lord, today is something that you've given us, and it is not without meaning, because we fear God and we love you and we love your commandments. They keep us on the right path. Lord, we thank you for them. We thank you for your insights. Lord, help us to do what we do with meaning and purpose. Help us to discover and continually discover that meaning and purpose as it evolves. Help us to teach you. Lord, teach us. Help us to teach others and fulfill your commands. Amen. Keep walking with God. Talk to him. Let him talk back as you read the Bible. And when he does speak to you, trust and obey. Keep looking for opportunities to bless others. We'll see you soon.